Taylor Price presents to you Epigenetics. The age-old question, is a person's development determined by nature, our genetics, or nurture, our environment? This debate dates back thousands of years ago to the time of the Greeks. The Greek philosopher and physician Galen proposed the idea that personality traits were determined by the concentration of a person's four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. The term nature versus nurture was actually coined by Sir Francis Galton's 1874 publication of English Men of Science, Their Nature and Nurture, where he claimed that intelligence and character traits were controlled by hereditary factors. This idea showed strong opposition to the ideas of the English philosopher John Locke, who argued that children are born with a blank slate and are entirely influenced by experience and learning. The 20th century gave rise to two schools of thought: behaviorism, which asserts that personality is the accumulation of learned responses to various stimuli, aka the environment affects our behavior, and psychoanalysis, which claims unconscious forces, biological drives, and unavoidable conflicts in childhood are the shapers of personality. While these theories have been described as opposites, both share the view that a person's environment and unique experiences shape their development. The mid-1900s to the end of the 20th century proved a large shift in this debate. The growing field of genetics picked up speed in the 1940s and 50s, where new methods had evolved for analyzing chromosomes, revealing many human diseases had genetic causes. People of importance. In 1866, Gregor Mendel established the principles of genetics and dubbed the basic unit of heredity as gene. He is also known as the father of modern genetics. In 1929, Phoebus Levine identified components of a DNA molecule: the four bases, a sugar, and phosphate. In 1952, Rosalind Franklin is often forgotten as discovering DNA's helical structure using X-ray diffraction imaging. And last but not least, Watson and Crick modeled the structure of DNA almost 2 years later. During this time, the twin study was developed. These studies were important because identical twins share the same genetic blueprint and fraternal twins share 50%. These gave insight into the extent to which certain traits are inherited, like height, and which traits are learned from their environment. Research has identified that some traits have a stronger genetic influence, such as in dyslexia, while some traits like arthritis are largely influenced by the environment. Repeated findings have shown that in fact, both nature and nurture were important to development. This now brings us to modern times. Most scientists can now agree that nature and nurture are intertwined. While genes influence our personality and behavior, our environment and experiences can change the level at which certain degrees are expressed and can in turn alter the physical structure and activity of the brain. This is the emerging field of epigenetics. Envision a computer. You have your hardware, the keyboard and monitor, the physical components of a computer. This is equivalent to your genome, your complete set of genes and DNA instructions. Your software can create documents and make various modifications to a document. This is like your epigenome, the chemical compounds that tell the genome where, when, and what to do. The instructions are great and all, but the epigenomic software is what determines when and where these instructions will be carried out. Our epigenomes are more responsive to environmental stimuli than our genomes, which is why this field is of great significance when we consider the drastic changes to our environment. Temperature, air quality, food availability, and water quality and availability are considered epigenetic factors that affect both land and water systems. Temperature, for example, is very important. Rising water temps indicate less dissolved oxygen that's available to wildlife, and some fish have seen changes to their epigenomes. Temperature is tied to changes in ocean salinity and acidity, which have put pressure on corals, causing coral bleaching. These two have experienced changes to their epigenomes. Some animals will not be able to adapt and will die off, which could have serious consequences for food systems that rely on fish. New research is exploring the idea of plasticity, which is how changes in epigenomes allow plants and animals to respond to climate change in a more efficient way than natural selection. Transgenerational plasticity is also a concept of curiosity, if plasticity is passed from one generation to another. As resources are depleted, disadvantaged populations will be the victims of dietary stress and the first to experience observable epigenetic changes. This shift can impact the expression of our genes. Changes to the water, temperatures, and rainfall patterns can impact the number of heavy metals exposed to humans, increase epigenetic consequences, and increase the effects of natural disasters. We are not determined by our genes. The field of epigenetics can help us learn about species adaptation and the consequences of climate change on an epigenetic level. This will help us create strategies to mitigate the effects of climate change. Thanks for watching!